Hello, regular Drews. Just jumping in here before the episode starts with a very special announcement, because if you weren't already aware, this April marks the 95th anniversary of Nancy Drew's first publishing, and it's the 30th anniversary of when Her Interactive was founded. To celebrate, they're hosting a Fan Month celebration with sales and events all month long. All of their games are actually going to be 20% off until the end of the month. Plus, each week they're hosting a sale on a different bundle of games. So be sure to check their website, herinteractive.com, to see specifically which games you can get in each of those bundles. They're also hosting 2 different fan contests this month, and each of those have some pretty great prizes. So you'll want to check their website as well for more information on how to enter those contests. And our last piece of exciting news is that Her Interactive was actually nice enough to send us one of their game bundles to give away to one of our listeners. So make sure that you are following us on our Instagram at Regular Nancy Drew for information on how to enter.
Well, aren't you a regular Nancy Drew?
I learned that from the Nancy Drew detective.
Okay, go.
You think you can follow the clues and solve the case of the missing condiment, Nancy Drew?
Because I've read every Nancy Drew mystery ever written.
Nancy, please tell me you're joking.
Wow, you suck at this Nancy Drew stuff. You should get a new hobby.
My name is Carson Drew, and this is my assistant, Nancy.
Nancy Drew.
It's curtains for you, Miss Drew.
Nancy Drew strikes again.
A regular Nancy Drew.
Well, hello, regular Drews.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, welcome back to episode 108. We are back with another Nancy Drew Hardy Boys crossover. This time we will be discussing the Hardy Boys Nancy Drew Mysteries, Season 2, Episode 19, Mystery on the Avalanche Express.
I can't contain my excitement.
This one, I really liked it, but also kind of made me throw up in my mouth a lot.
Yeah. That's the 70s for you, though, isn't it?
So true.
Hey, any mystery on a train.
That's true. Yeah, no, I was so excited for that
Yeah.
alone. I was like, a train mystery. I was a little bit sad that the whole mystery wasn't contained on the train, a la Agatha Christie, Orient Express. Wasn't like quite a locked room mystery, but that's okay. It was still good. It was still good. The mystery as a whole, I feel like, was probably one of the best mysteries of the 70s TV show that I've seen.
I agree. Yeah.
I didn't understand what was going on for a good bit of the time, and I clued in like right as Nancy clued in.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, I get it now. I totally missed it. I missed the whole the whole trick of it all. And so it was really satisfying to get to see that and get to see that reveal and kind of experience it and feel like, oh, finally, like something that's like I didn't catch it, you know? So I loved that. But there were a lot of sexist, gross men in it, as per usual. So,
That's a big trademark of that show, unfortunately. It is, though, our very first time covering an episode where Janet Louise Johnson stars as our Nancy instead of Pamela Sue Martin. It's not her first time as Nancy, but it's the first episode that we've covered where she plays Nancy.
Had you seen her before in this role, Kori? Have you watched any of those episodes before?
No, I had not. Had you?
Yeah, no, me neither. Okay. I have a lot to say. Well, not a lot. I have some things to say. I liked her.
I liked her a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I think she was really good. I think she did really well. And I can see her as Nancy. I have a little bit of an issue of like the portrayal of Nancy in general in this episode, but I don't think it's Janet Louise Johnson's fault. It's just the writing and the directing. But she's a little bit like childlike. I think like she's kind of like pouty and a little bit foot stompy, diminutized. Like that's maybe what I'm trying to go for. Like I think, and I do think a lot of that is that's how they wanted Nancy to seem at that time. I think that has probably, I don't think it's a coincidence that Pamela Sue Martin left right before this, and we get this portrayal of Nancy Drew. Remind me, did the Playboy cover Nancy Drew Undraped that Pamela Sue Martin, did that come out before these episodes?
It would have been after, I believe.
Okay, never mind. I was going to say, because if it was in response to that, then I could definitely understand it. But
Let me grab it real quick.
Okay.
This is July 78. So just a couple months later.
It's just a few months after that. Yeah, this came out. So this episode aired on February 26th, 1978. So wow, that's very close. But I think the whole vibes were there from the whole time, right? Is that Pamela Sue Martin wanted to be paid equally. She wanted to, maintain her kind of titular role status as being a main character on the show. And they were like, nope, we're gonna minimize your role. We're gonna not pay you as much. And then she left. And now we get Janet Louise Johnson's portrayal, which is just it feels like an immature kind of a Nancy who is not, she's still smart and she's still like a mystery solver, but she's just treated like a child.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that Pamela Sue Martin's character wasn't also treated like a child, but I do feel like there was a certain level of Pamela Sue Martin's portrayal that was like, she knew she was being treated as a child and she didn't allow it, kind of a thing. Whereas this representation of Nancy is treated as a child, and it seems like, well, yeah, maybe you should be because you're kind of acting like one.
I definitely feel like we can gain some insight into what Pamela Sue Martin was dealing with just by watching the way Janet Louise is able to play this character. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
It definitely, like you said, it feels like this is what they'd wanted Pamela Sue Martin to act like all along. And then when she left, they're like, all right, Janet Louise, we need you to do exactly this. And the Hardy Boys are going to talk to you this way. And you need to just be demure about how you respond to it,
Infantilizing. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Infantilizing. Yeah. I feel like they infantilize her character much more. And then I feel like Janet Louise Johnson's character as Nancy Drew, her portrayal of Nancy Drew, is kind of forced to accept it in a way that Pamela Sue Martin's character, I feel like, kind of acted out against it. Like,
yeah. I don't feel like it's Janet Louise's, like you said, it's not her fault at all, but it's the way that the other characters treat her that she has to respond in certain ways. Yeah.
Right. Yep.
But anyway, it was fun. I liked the theme.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun, and it was just as goofy as all the other 1977 TV show episodes, which is what you want, when you watch this. It was very goofy, very fun. I will say, I think Sean Cassidy's acting has really improved.
Oh, yeah.
By this point.
He's hilarious in this, by the way.
So funny. He's so funny. And there was some like real subtlety that I feel like he was showing in a lot of his lines, which is like good on him, because like I could see how you don't have to do that. You don't have to put that in there. But I think, and I don't think he did at the beginning, like at the beginning episodes, it was all very one note, you know, from him. But there was some modulation going on in this episode that I really appreciated from him. So well done, Sean Cassidy. Yes. Good for you. But yeah, 3 words.
Skiing, I feel like.
Yeah. Ski trips.
Snow, yeah.
Skiing's got to be one of them. I feel like communism needs to be another one.
Yes. Big time.
And then just like creepy men, maybe. Yeah.
I'd like for it to be train, but again, it's really,
The train isn't, and in some like train mystery ones, the train is like a character, or the train is like, such a setting. But we start before we're on the train and we end after we get off the train. And the train, while it impacts maybe like some of the plot, it's not really a major player. I don't feel like,
I wish it was, but creepy
it could
men,
have happened somewhere else. Like it could have happened at a hotel.
Easily. Yeah.
Creepy
men definitely is a big player in this. Yeah.
So ski trip, creepy men, communism.
Yep. That's this episode.
And it's good somehow. okay.
Yeah, we don't have any. I was like, oh, cover art. There is not really cover art for this. But
not more than we talked about. I mean, we talked about Janet Louise Johnson, which is really the biggest difference in any kind of quote unquote cover art.
Yeah.
I guess. And yeah, overall, I think she's a good cast. I think she works well as Nancy. My issue is just in how they wrote Nancy and how they treated her, which is pretty much the same in most of the 77 shows. So, yeah.
You'll see what we mean. We will get there.
How old is Janet Louise Johnson at this point? She seems younger than Pamela Sue Martin. Is that true?
That's a good question. I feel like she was 18. Let me find out.
Yeah, she seemed quite baby-faced. And I think that lended to my my feelings of like they're treating her like a child because I feel like she looked so young.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Pamela Sue Martin was 24 when she was Nancy, I feel like. And then Janet Louise Johnson was 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why.
See, I also don't like how they fire the, the quote unquote older woman and then hire fresh out of school teen girl. It's
Nancy is a teen, to be fair.
She is, but Sean Cassidy and Parker Lewis Stevenson aren't teenagers anymore.
Mm-mm.
So, and okay, but I think the reason why it stood out to me so much in this episode is because of how the old men skeeve on her so badly in this.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to talk about that. Should we just jump in, or is there anything else you want to say?
No, let's do it.
Okay. So we start off our episode in a train station in Budapest. Of all places, very interesting. Nancy, aka Janet Louise Johnson, is there. But there is also like these men around that we see and focusing on who seem to be following this other woman in the station. The woman being followed comes up to Nancy and she asks her for change to make a phone call because remember payphones. This was 1977, and Nancy gives her change. The woman goes into the phone booth and leaves her bag by Nancy, but neither of them realizes yet that their bags are identical. So when the woman comes back out of the phone booth, of course, she and Nancy inadvertently switch bags. Did this remind you of Brassbound Trunk? Because I was like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, the switching bags thing is quite classic, but also I wondered if it was maybe a little bit of a hearkening back to that.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. But so it does seem like them switching bags is noticed by one of the men who is following this woman. And he makes a call to someone saying so, telling them about this and saying that they will quote unquote have it, probably meaning her bag, before the train reaches Austria. Because that's where they're headed. Austria, by the way. The Hardy Boys are also here. They're in this train station. They are on vacation here to watch a friend of theirs in a ski competition. And this woman who is being pursued by these men, she ends up running up to Frank, kisses him, and pretends that she's there meeting him. She fully kisses him on the lips.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's trying to fake this to try to stop, throw off the track of the people who are following her. And Frank and Joe play along. They understand what's going on. They play along and help slow down her pursuers, and the woman seems to get away. And then Frank and Joe meet up with Nancy, and they have their usual banter. George is also here, though. She's with Nancy. But I have some serious questions about this, because it does not seem like George at all. It seems like this is actually supposed to be Bess.
We had this complaint when we watched some of the season 1 episodes with the other George, because by the way, this show has
this
not
is a new
only
actress, right?
Yeah, not only 2 different Nancy actresses, but 2 Besses and 2 George actresses as well. So now we're on George number 2. So different George than the first one, but we also had that same complaint that the first George was a little bit too Bessy. You know?
But so they have George in this train station with a ton of bags. She's schmoozing with the porter who's carrying all her bags and being this breezy girl. I'm like, this is not George. Where's George who has her one backpack and is rushing Nancy because they're late to get on the train? Where is that George?
No,
like,
this George just wants to go shopping and
swanning
talk
in.
about lunch, and yeah.
Yes.
It's like they tried to combine the Bess and George characters. It's like we know that Bess is the better character, but we just give her the name George. I'm just kidding. Sorry. Oh, no, that's mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it definitely is a little bit jarring to see that. Like,
Yeah. So anyway, Frank and Joe meet up with Nancy and George. They have some banter, and then they all get on board the same train. We do also see the same men that were following that mystery woman in the train station get on the train too. So everybody is on board this one train.
So now that we're on the train, Frank and Joe are able to find their friend that they are here to see, the skier. His name is Paul. Paul is getting a little bit in trouble with his coach for being late to get on the train. The coach is also talking to Paul's friend who's there, whose name is Hans, and he's telling Hans that he shouldn't be wandering around the train station like they were doing. And we kind of we get this impression that Hans is from East Germany, and so this coach guy is like a minder for Hans for some reason to make sure he's not doing anything that politically he should not be doing, I guess. So they have that conversation, and then we'll cut to Nancy and George on the train, and Nancy is now realizing what has happened with her bags. Unfortunately, the bag contained not only hers, but also George's passport and their train tickets, and also all of their traveler's checks. Yeah, so I would be freaking out right now, and Nancy is understandably panicking over this, and she decides, of course, she needs to find the other woman so that they could get this resolved. So Nancy goes over to the next occupied compartment on the train that actually one of the men that was following that other woman, he's staying in this compartment here. So Nancy, does she introduce herself here? This guy is really creepy because he says something when she's getting on the train to the effect of I always let women go in front of me so that I can see their faces. I'm sorry, if she's in front of you, you're looking at a different part of her body, not her face. But anyway, so Nancy has seen him on the train before, but now she goes to knock on the compartment to look for this woman, and it's this creepy guy. And so she asks, have you seen anybody on the train with this similar type of bag? And he he's in his 40s. He's clearly not age appropriate at all. And he, instead of answering her question, he's like, well, can't I take you to lunch?
Oh my God. That's so annoying.
He specifically asks if there's anything he can say to convince her to go to lunch with him. And this is great because Nancy's just like, I'm sure you can think of something. And then she just walks away.
Well, I kind of felt like that moment. This is the first throw up in my mouth moment. Or I guess the second. First one was probably, that comment he made as he was getting onto the train with her. Yeah, go in front of me so that I can see your face. Blah! Oh my God. No, but I felt like Nancy was too nice to him.
She was, yes.
And so I was really annoyed. I was really frustrated. I was like, she's not turning this guy down, which is what she should do. Be like, you're old. Bye. Instead, she's like, I'm sure you can think of something. Just to be flirty back to him. And I know, listen, okay, I know this is the 70s, and I know at this point in time, you probably did have to be nice to the men. Otherwise, you'd probably be assaulted.
Especially when you are this young,
Yeah, and that's not even untrue now, necessarily. There's lots of reasons why women are forced to be nice to men because they fear for their safety. I'm not saying that that's not the case, but it made me so mad. Pissed me off so bad. That I was like, no, Nancy, tell him off. Tell him off. But I feel like part of that is part of the Janet Louise Johnson thing. And the switching to Janet Louise Johnson, we're changing our perception of Nancy. I feel like if this was Pamela Sue Martin's Nancy, they would not have written her quite like that. She may have said something coy, but I feel like it wouldn't have been, I'm sure you can think of something. It would have been something like, well, I'll have to ask my boyfriend, or I'll, something to kind of imply this is a little bit inappropriate what you're asking.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I feel like they were portraying her as being a little bit more clever, whereas Janet Louise Johnson, I think they're not writing that in there for her.
There is something later. Obviously, we'll get to it. I don't want to spoil it just yet, but there is something later where she is overly nice to this man.
Yes.
And you don't realize it until later. But at the time I knew, I'm like, oh, she knows exactly what she's doing here.
Yes,
There's like a point to the way she's acting.
Nice. Yeah.
But this is not that.
Right.
I was hoping like, okay, maybe she already knows a little something. No, we're not to the point yet where she would be doing this as like a strategic move to try to like play him into her hand. Yeah, anyway. It's gross and it's disgusting and
followed up by something even worse.
Followed up by something significantly worse. And it's not even treated like it's something abnormal by any means. But anyway, she walks away and continues her search down the train. She's just kind of going car to car. And as she's like in that little area, almost like when you're like about to switch, outside to go to the next car, right at the little exit door, 2 other men just come out of nowhere, grab her face and her arms, push her up against the wall, actually up against like the door that they could just open at any second, push her off the train, and start threatening her and saying that things are going to go sideways for her if she does not return the thing that they are looking for.
Well, specifically they say, unless you give me what I want.
Yes. The thing,
which is like, at this point, Nancy doesn't even know what they're talking about.
Right.
Sorry, I'm not trying to jump all over your part of
please.
This, but like, and so the vibes are very rapey. Like, it's like, give me what I want. So you're telling me you want me to have sex with you right now. Like, if that had happened to me, that's
where your
when
mind
I'd be,
goes.
okay, they're gonna rape me.
Yeah.
They like, that's what I hear. Maybe we should put a content warning at the top of this. But like,
you pretty young thing, have what I'm looking for. You better give it over because I need it. Yeah.
Yes. Sick. And that's how they're acting. Like, it's not like they're not like looking for a bag that she's carrying. They're like caressing her face. Yes. And like, I think he like touches her lip or something, or like he like chucks her under the chin or something. It's sick. It's sick. So if you watch it, look out, because I was not prepared for that. And then I watched it and I felt ill.
She can't get out of this situation either. No. And he like threatens to basically push her off the train if she doesn't do what he wants right now. And so you start thinking Nancy can't escape from this. There's literally nowhere for her to go except out the train, which would kill her because they're in this like really snowy, cold area that's like basically in the middle of nowhere. So yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so they explain that she's got something that they want, and they tell her that she needs to give it up right away. And then Nancy assumes, okay, wait a minute, it actually must be related to this bag. And they say something about Gina Martelli. Gina Martelli gave it to you. We know that she gave it to you. We know that you have it. So we assume that Gina Martelli is the name of this other woman that Nancy switched her bag with. But then Nancy is like, no. I'm not who you think. Like, you must be mistaking me for someone else. I have no idea what you're talking about. Of course, they don't believe her, but thank goodness Frank happens to be walking down the hallway at this moment anyway, and is able to pull her out of this situation. And I don't remember exactly what he says, but they kind of get in his face for a second and then realize that like, oh,
he's a man, so we'll just leave.
Exactly. Yeah, because they don't want to challenge that. So yeah, they just walk away and leave Nancy alone for now.
We are like 10 minutes into this train trip. Like, we are not far in. Nancy's already been assaulted. So anyway, okay. So we cut to Joe, who's like walking back to, I guess, his and Frank's compartment on the train. And he opens the door and he finds someone in their compartment searching his bag. He can't like see who it is though, because they have their back to him, and they like turn around and like run off past him before Joe can stop them. And so Joe like looks through his bag, but there's nothing that seems to be missing except a photo of him, Frank, and Fenton, like just like all arm in arm or whatever. So it's really odd. Like, why would they take that? Why would they want a photo? Meanwhile, Nancy takes Frank back to her compartment and shows him the bag and explains the whole situation. And that was probably why the men were accosting her. But after a thorough search of that bag, they can't find anything suspicious in it. Except they do read some of the letters that are in there, which is funny. They have like a moment of like, we're reading someone else's mail. We shouldn't be doing that. But Nancy's like, we don't have a choice. So they read it. And the letters are from whoever this woman is, her brother, asking her to meet him in Budapest, which is obviously where they just departed from. And one of the letters mentions that, quote unquote, they were closing in on him, like her brother. So their working theory is that this woman's brother, Gina's brother, had something that these men were looking for. And he must have given it to Gina, who then had it in her bag or took it on the train, and she has it like on her person now on the train. And that's why these men came after Nancy, because they want whatever this is. So at this point, really our only option left is to track down Gina. Frank tells Nancy that she should stay in the compartment so that she doesn't run into those men again while he and Joe go look for Gina. Because, of course, you know, after a woman is assaulted, the woman has to stay safe and hidden. It's not the men who get in trouble. It's not like we could report them to an authority on the train or anything. No, Nancy gets a curfew.
Jeez.
And, of course, you know, he delivers this in a very patriarchal and, like, protective tone or whatever. It's just limiting Nancy's agency. But Nancy, to her credit, or I guess to the writer's credit, is offended by this. And then once Frank leaves, even after some teasing from George about how cute Frank is, which is funny, Nancy says that of course she will stay in the compartment, but only after she finds Gina.
Naturally.
But then once Nancy is out on the train, she does see those men again. They don't see her, though, thankfully. But she also sees that other guy that she was talking to, who invited her out to lunch, is talking to them. So now she knows that, like, oh, they must be working together. So once they, like, disperse, once the men's disperse and split up and that man is on his own again, she approaches him and, like, cleverly asks him, oh, will you take me out to lunch now? Which she, of course, agrees to do. Yes, it's gross, but also this is the calculated move on Nancy's part.
Yeah,
so,
I kind of love it. But. So meanwhile, we flash back over to Joe, who is back outside of his compartment again. And again, he hears someone inside. And so he runs in to confront this guy, and it's Hans. Strange. And so Joe's like, what the heck, dude? And actually, Hans is currently putting the photo back, and he apologizes. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I just needed to make sure that Fenton was the right man for the job because I need help, and I'm pretty sure Fenton's the only one that can help me. And so Joe asks him a little bit more, and we learn that Hans knows about Fenton because of his reputation with Interpol, and he needs Fenton's help because he wants to defect. Very exciting, right? So Hans explains to Joe that they are headed to a town in Austria that is very near to where he could get transportation to Switzerland. This would, of course, be very dangerous to anyone who's involved. So Joe's a little bit hesitant to agree right away because it could get him and Frank and Fenton all killed or put in jail, you know. Right. So very scary. But Joe does take pity on this guy, and he agrees that he and Frank will talk it over, and then they will call Fenton once the train arrives. Hans swears him to secrecy. He says that the secret police are actually watching him all the time, so no one can know about this plan. So that must be why the coach and everybody kind of has their eyes on him, just because they don't want him sneaking off and defecting. So now we come back to Nancy. What is honestly a great scene in my mind. But she is getting to know this creepy man a little bit better. We learn that his name is Alan Somerville, and he says that he is here as a sports writer because he's covering a ski competition.
Another Alan.
I've thought the same thing. I was like, why are all the creepers named Alan? Why?
What is it about Nancy Drew books and men named Alan?
I don't know. Somebody at the Stratomeyer Syndicate just had a beef with some Allens, I guess. I don't know.
Someone was wronged by an Allen.
Yeah. Someone at Simon & Schuster was like, I know. We'll never. Oh my gosh. But okay, so we're talking to Alan, who says that he is a sports writer, but Nancy can tell that he might be not telling the full story, maybe. So Nancy in a very clever move here, tells him about the mix-up with the bag and lies to him a little bit. She even, like, it's kind of funny. She plays it up. She, like, leans forward and, like, grabs his hand and is like, I just need someone I can trust with this secret. Got something really big going on.
And I know I can trust you.
Yeah.
You seem trustworthy.
You're so
you
trustworthy.
Can help me. Will you help me?
I'm just a damsel in distress. I just need your help, creepy man. So she tells him she thinks that she can trust him. And 2, she says is there was something very, very valuable inside Gina's bag, and she doesn't know what to do with it. And so he kind of tries to ask about this, and she's like, well, no, I can't tell you. I would just have to show you what it is. But then Frank comes up and is like, hey, I need to talk to you. It's really important. And Nancy's like, oh, so sorry. I have to go now. What a shame. We have to cut our lunch short. Bye forever. Just kidding. But so she leaves with Frank. And then Frank is like, what the heck was that about? Why are you hanging out with creepy guy? And she's like, no, I'm pretty sure that Alan is involved. And I was hoping that if I could get him to trust me, that he will lead me to whatever this thing is, or he will show me, maybe inadvertently, what it was that he's looking for. So Frank is a little annoyed now because, you know, your father told you not to leave your compartment, Nancy, and you left your compartment anyway. Gosh, sorry. But the thing that he needed to talk to us so urgently about was the fact that he has found Gina. Hooray! So they head over there to talk to her.
Yeah, Gina explains that we meet Gina, and she explains that she doesn't actually know what the men want from her at all, but she does give us a little bit more context about her situation, which helps us understand. She tells us that her and her brother, who she did come to Budapest to see, that they were never close because he was significantly older than her, and he ended up going to Vietnam. And after the war, he just kind of like disappeared, like dropped off the face of the earth. And they honestly, like her and her whole family thought he must have been dead. But then about 6 weeks ago, she started to get these letters from him, and she was obviously really shocked to hear from him. And he insisted that she come to Budapest. So she did, right? Because she wanted to see her brother. But then he ended up dying of pneumonia literally the day before she arrived, which is tragic.
So sad. That's
Like,
devastating.
Older brother you thought was dead. Turned out he's alive. Oh, no, he just died before you could get to him. Wow.
That's awful.
Awful. But so Gina ended up taking all of his belongings, which turned out to just be the things he brought to the hospital. She learned that he like liquidated everything else, like sold his house, sold all his furniture, sold everything he owned, except literally what he had on his person when he went to the hospital, which is odd. But then as she goes to leave with his stuff, she was confronted by these men. And they said that they were old buddies of her brother from the war, and that her brother had something that belonged to them, something that was worth $250,000. Okay. So they know that like, well, I guess like he had this $250,000 and like turned it into something else, something smaller that he could carry. And that they know that Gina has it now. We're like, okay, but we don't know what that is. And Gina says like she looked through everything that she has from her brother. It's literally just the contents of the purse that Nancy and Frank have and now have also already looked through. So she doesn't know what this little thing is that's worth $250,000. And they don't know what the thing is that's worth $250,000. I don't even think the bad guys, the people who've been following her, know what this thing is yet. That is worth $250,000, which is like, you guys, just get it together or something. I feel like the bad guys have like really been sleeping.
Right.
You know, like if you don't even know what it is, like, how are you expecting these people to give it to you? What are they like, oh, here it is, but you don't know if that's it or not. So how can you, sorry, this is a pet peeve about this particular plot point. Anyway, so Gina actually switched her and Nancy's bag on purpose and intended to switch them back whenever she found Nancy on the train. And so they do that now, and Gina has her purse back and Nancy has hers. But soon after Gina leaves the compartment, the bad guys have found her again, and they end up chasing her out of the end of the train. And she like goes out and climbs on top of this moving train. And one of the guys climbs up on top of the train after her, pulls out a gun to like shoot her. But very luckily, Joe was in the corridor at the time and saw them like run past and follows them and ends up climbing up on top of the train as well to try to stop this guy from attacking Gina. And they get into like a full on like wrestling match on the top of this moving train. It's terrifying. And in the process of that, the gun the guy's holding goes off and starts an avalanche on the mountain that they are passing by.
Oh my gosh.
So they're like fighting. Meanwhile, the rumbling like starts and they're all panicked, like looking at the mountain and everybody on the train. We get the scene of everybody on the train noticing, freaking out at what's about to happen, if this avalanche is about to like cover their train. But anyway, the bad guy almost ends up falling off the train, but he does manage to make it inside and then I guess just leaves. Which is another thing I have issues with. I feel like the bad guys keep just like giving up for no reason. Mm-hmm. Like he has a gun and he was just fighting with Joe. So like if he gets back onto the train first, surely he could just stand there and wait with his gun.
You would think.
Until they get back on and be like, okay, give it over now. But whatever. But he gets back on the train somehow and leaves. And then Joe helps Gina get back onto the train as well. So everybody's safe now. It's just very dramatic.
Well, in all that excitement, somehow the avalanche does not derail our travel here, and we do make it to our destination. This is a made-up town in Austria called Altair, but this is where the ski competition is going to be held, and they arrive at the lodge where they're going to be staying for the competition. Frank tells Nancy that he spoke to the police and that the men from the train are now nowhere to be found. But the police are going to escort Gina back to her home. So who knows? We might never know what exactly they were looking for. But then Nancy spots Alan, our creepy guy who she had lunch with. So it does seem like the bad guys are still lurking around here somewhere, just we don't know where the other two are. But then Joe is going to call Fenton. So we cut to him just getting off the phone. And he explains that he has arranged transportation for Hans and for people to help get him to Zurich. But there is a very strict timetable that he has to follow because, again, this is a very dangerous little plan that they have going on here. And if anything goes wrong or if anything is even like a split second too late in this plan, it might all go wrong and then he might not make it at all. Right. So that's a little nerve-wracking. But then Nancy and George go into their room and the room is completely trashed. So it definitely seems like the bad guys are still out here looking for whatever it is that they think Gina had or that they think Nancy now has. But hold on, this doesn't really make sense though, because Gina took her bag back. So for some reason, they must think that Nancy intentionally kept this thing that they're looking for, or that they're trying to, or that she's like trying to hide it from them. Who knows? But then she figures it out. She's like, wait a minute. There is nothing in either my bag or Gina's bag that they could want. And there's nothing else that Gina has given me. Hold on. Hold on, though. Because when she very first met her at the train station before they got on the train, Gina asked for change for the phone. So Nancy goes to hand her the coins and Nancy goes, oh, I'm sorry. I just arrived in Budapest. I don't know the currency very well. I don't know specifically which coins you'll need. So Gina just like grabs a heap of coins from her and then throws a different set of coins into Nancy's hand, like different currency. It's US currency. So Gina like takes the coins and Nancy's just standing here with this random US currency. So she just puts the nickels or whatever into her own coin purse and then goes about her day. But these coins, this is the only other thing that Gina would have had that Nancy could have also somehow ended up with that in her own possession, right? Mm-hmm. So they pull the coins out of Nancy's pocket or her coin purse and they start looking through this. And Frank goes, wait a minute, this coin right here, something special about it, right? This must be the valuable thing that they're looking for.
Okay. Listen, this is great and I love this twist and I did not see it coming. I was like, oh yes, the change. And that was so satisfying. But it doesn't really make sense that the bad guys would know that Nancy had this, because if we remember, they also seemingly didn't know what the valuable thing was that Gina had. Right?
Oh, no, they get a call. So as soon as...
Yes, but that's now, right? That literally happens right after this. So, like, yes, the bad guys get a phone call that, like, some anonymous compatriot of theirs or whatever that says exactly what they're looking for. It's one of the coins.
Mm-hmm.
But if they didn't know that it was the coins before that point, then why would they have searched Nancy's room if they thought that Gina had her bag back, which they knew?
Maybe they assumed that Nancy kept whatever it is and just gave the bag back itself. I think that's all it is. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know. It's just it doesn't make sense to me that they would have trashed your room and then not gone after Gina instead. Like, why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Maybe they did. You know what? Maybe they did both. Maybe they have more friends who went after Gina. I can excuse it for that reason. But
yeah,
anyway.
we don't know that Gina's room wasn't also trashed, to be fair.
Well, Gina's not here. Gina went home. Gina is not at the lodge.
True.
Yeah. But
okay. Well, maybe
anyway.
Somebody's following her. Maybe they got on the plane with her. Who knows? But,
yeah.
Sorry. Anyway.
Okay. Anyway. So they get this call that says, okay, yes, we know what you're looking for now. He bought this like super fancy nickel or something that's worth $250,000. So you need to get that nickel. But we still have this ski competition to attend. And so the Hardy Boys and Nancy and George all go to watch Paul and Hans compete. But Nancy is like just standing off of the course, which I did not know you could just like stand on the course of a ski competition while it's going on. She's literally standing there on her skis.
Don't worry about it.
On the course. And then she sees the two bad guys on skis coming for her. So she like takes off down the slope to like evade them. And Frank, Joe, and George see her and try to like go after her as well to help her. Which also in this moment, as George tries to go ski off behind her, she falls over on her skis.
That's so best coded.
You can't tell me that that's not supposed to be best. If this was really George's character, she would have been ahead of Frank and Joe.
Of course. She's too athletic not to be able to handle this.
Seriously. Like the one opportunity we have to be like, okay, well, we can show that it's George by showing how athletic she is. Mm-hmm. No, we have her fall over because it's funny. Which like, I get physical comedy, sure, it's funny. But like Bess would have fallen over. George would not have fallen over. So irritating.
Honestly, Bess would have refused to put the skis on in the first place. Bess would be inside with her hot chocolate still.
Or like she would have put the skis on, but like she only at George's intense insistence.
Sure. Yeah.
And she would have been complaining about it every step of the way. And I do think that if she saw Nancy being chased by bad guys, she would follow. Yeah. But she would fall.
Poor Bess.
I know. But anyway, after this, we get the longest and most hilarious ski chase of all time.
Yeah. This is so funny. Because obviously they have like stunt doubles.
Well, it's like totally green screened or something. Yeah. Like Sean Cassidy just like jumping from side to side, like pretending like he's skiing. It's so obviously fake.
Well, they cut between like long distance shot where they have like a real, like somebody who's clearly like a stunt double doing like actual ski tricks or whatever. But then it cuts to a close up of like just like shoulders up and they're just kind of like swaying awkwardly in front of the green screen.
Raised, like pretending to hold poles. So they're wearing like the goofiest looking 1970s ski goggles you've ever seen in your life.
Just bobbing along.
Also, I don't know if you noticed this, Kori, but like in some of the shots where we have like them like actually skiing or stunt double skiing or whoever, you can see the shadows of the camera operators skiing next to them, and it's just so hilariously bad. Like it looks so bad. Like maybe let's just not. It's the thing is that it would be fine if it was like 10 to 15, even 30 seconds long. I swear to you, this thing lasted a full 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's a long scene.
It's a long scene of them skiing. And it looks so bad. You're telling me that no one in editing was like, maybe we can cut some of these shots where you can see the literal camera operator's shadows. Maybe we can cut it down a little. Trim it down. It's going on a little long.
I had to bag it up and watch it again. It was so funny. Just like slowly bobbing along.
Also, now I know what you should do if you ever need to pretend like you're skiing. It's just kind of like jump from side to side with your arms at an angle.
A little bit of swaying.
A little bit of swaying.
Yeah.
So funny.
With the goggles. All good.
Uh-huh.
Oh
anyway, so they have this ski chase, and finally Joe is able to like catch up to Nancy and this guy, and he's able to slide tackle one of them out. But the other guy is still chasing Nancy and is like hot on her heels. And Frank cannot catch up to them. Luckily, Hans, who is literally mid-race, by the way, sees this happening. And even though, like, literally, I think he's trying to defect, like, right now, like, I think part of the plan was for him to leave, like, mid-competition.
Right. He was never supposed to get to the finish line. Yeah.
No. He stops what he's doing to go to help Nancy, which is, like, Hans is the true hero of this episode. Because one, he's literally like been oppressed. He's like, I think he lives in East Germany. Like he's having a terrible time. Who knows what has happened to this poor man. Gets one opportunity to come out to a ski competition. Is like, I'm going to use this opportunity to flee, try to save my life, get to another country. Don't even care about the glory of the ski competition, whatever. I'm just trying to leave to save my life. He sees a girl in danger that I don't even know if he's met Nancy.
Nope.
He hasn't met her in this episode, I don't think. Sees her in danger, stops what he's doing, goes to help her. Like,
gives up his chances just to make sure she doesn't get killed.
What a hero.
Because, they're after her with guns right now.
Right.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so he's able to stop the second guy. And he like tackles him as well, and the gun goes flying off or whatever. But of course, now Hans's chances of defecting are seemingly ruined. But he's so like gracious about it too. He like says to Joe or something, whoever's there, Frank, he's like, there'll be another time. Like, so sad. So sad.
Oh my gosh. Well,
do you want to do our ending? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the 70s show unless we have a song to close out the episode.
What was this? This was so weird.
Yeah, it's George this time. Somehow it's not even the Hardy Boys leading the song, but they're back on the train now, and George is singing Do the Locomotion for everyone who is watching like they're an audience.
Do the locomotion with me.
And then they all applaud for her. It's cute, but it's a little awkward. I don't know.
It's really weird.
It's kind of strange.
It's like, are we trying to jumpstart everyone's singing career in this TV show? Like, I know we got Sean Cassidy going out there. I don't think Parker Stevenson ever sings. But, like, I don't even know who this actress is. Apologies. But
Susan Bruckner is her name. Actually, she just passed away.
Oh, no.
Unfun fact for you, but yeah.
Oh, in memoriam. Rest in peace, Susan Bruckner. You did so well singing Loco Commotion in this episode. She's a nice voice. Oh, yeah. But it's
beautiful singer.
Just so awkward because she's like being all like cheesy and smiling and everybody's like bobbing around and happy. And like, we just got the news that this guy who's trying to defect can't defect anymore. And everyone's like, hey, yeah, cool, having fun 70s sing time, sing sesh. It's so awkward. Sorry, continue.
Great. Well, another best-ish moment here. We learned that.
Oh yeah. Almost forgot.
Well, our friend Paul has won the race here, and George kisses him out of the blue, like they're a romantic pair now or something. It's very out of place. I don't know.
Did they even ever meet before? I don't think they were even ever in a scene together before.
Not that I remember.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, well. But everyone is just thrilled. We're all celebrating the big win or whatever. But there's still a bad guy left, isn't there? Hold on.
Yeah, what happened to Alan?
Where's Alan? Wrong. Actually, Alan's an undercover government agent. And he was working like undercover, like making the other bad guys think that he was a bad guy, but really he was undercover for the US government or something, sort of. But anyway, it turns out this $250,000 that Gina's brother had was actually ill-gotten gains from the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Yikes. He acquired it with his two other bad besties or whatever. So Alan didn't really know at first how the brother had converted the cash that they had gotten into this coin. So the reason that he was like with the other bad guys originally is that he was trying to figure it out so that he could recover it before they got to it, right? But now we know that this old coin was actually an old nickel from 1912 that they only ever minted 5 of. So that's why it's worth so much, I guess.
I feel like it would be worth a lot more.
You would think.
Than 250,000, but I don't know what that is in today's money from the 70s. Let's hold on.
Yeah, let's find out, because I meant to look this up and I didn't.
Oh, $1,202,000, $799.08.
That is a lot. I still feel like a coin like this would be worth a little bit more. If there was only ever 5,
yeah,
you would think it. I don't know. That's a lot.
I mean, $1 million, $1.2 million
for a nickel. Yeah,
for a nickel, that's a lot.
Yeah,
especially like because nickels weren't made out of anything special.
Nickel, right?
Whoa, hold on. Were nickels made out of nickel?
Were they?
Today I learned, if that's the case, what were nickels made out of? My Google search. Yeah, you're right. Copper and nickel.
Cool.
75% copper and 25% nickel. And that's how they were started in 1865. The first nickel was a 3-cent piece. And then during World War II, they were made of like a silver alloy to like conserve nickel. Those were war nickels. The nickel is the only U.S. coin that was named after its metal content. Wow. Today I learned.
I didn't know about the copper part. That's cool. But yeah, so very, very pricey nickel. And I guess they're going to take it from Nancy now. They don't really say what's going to happen to this nickel.
Yeah, no, we don't know. I mean, presumably Nancy would give it to the U.S. government.
Hopefully it'll go in like a museum, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
I mean, if it's from money from like
Vietnam War.
The Vietnam, that's problematic.
That is really problematic.
Yeah, don't give it to the U.S. government. Go give it to Vietnam.
Yeah, never mind about the museum. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what happens to the nickel, and they don't say. But then at this point, so Nancy, George, and the Hardy Boys are all sitting there having some tea on the train. And then the coach and Hans's minder come over, and they're like, hey, has anyone seen Hans? And they're like, we can't find him. He's not on the train anywhere. And Joe's like, oh, maybe he missed the train. And then they all just kind of like look at each other awkwardly.
Sip their cocoa.
Yep. And then they just awkwardly all take a sip and like won't even look at the guy anymore. And then we cut to a scene. Hans is skiing across the Austrian border and he makes it to a sign that says like, welcome to Switzerland or whatever. So it does look like he was able to slip away and defect after all.
Oh, so yay!
Good for Hans.
Good for Hans. The only thing I wanted out of this whole episode actually happened. Way to go, Hans.
And the end.
The end.
Yeah.
Wow.
What an episode.
Okay. What question? What are Nancy and George doing there?
Maybe. Oh. Yeah, they don't say. I guess they're just here to hang out with the Hardy Boys, right?
Like, that's what I was thinking. Because we don't say at the beginning. And I was like, okay, well, surely Nancy, maybe, I assume Nancy's going to the ski competition too. But then I'm like, but why? She doesn't seem to know Paul. She doesn't go talk to Paul. We don't seem to know any of the Hardy Boys' friends. So I guess, yeah, did the Hardy Boys just invite her?
It doesn't seem like one of the past ones where they kind of coincidentally meet each other randomly. They do, like when they're at the train station, they intentionally meet up and they're like, oh wait, we gotta wait for George. She's getting the bags or whatever. So they did all plan to meet here. I don't know.
But like,
I don't know why.
Like what a weird thing.
Yeah.
to do.
Just vacation.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I just haven't watched enough of the 77 show at this point to know what like Frank and Nancy's current relationship status is. Mm-hmm. But it does not seem very casual if he's inviting her all the way to Budapest to take a train to go to Austria.
And then she's denying to George. She's like, no, he's not cute. I mean, maybe a little cute, but like, no.
I was sorely disappointed by the lack of romantic tension between Frank and Nancy in this. It was suffering.
Yeah.
Like there was no, the only thing we get, I guess, kind of, is the way he like guides her by her shoulders into the compartment a couple times. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like the only physical contact they get is he touches her arm. And George calls him cute. They don't look at each other breathlessly.
Yeah.
There's no real prolonged eye contact.
Nope.
No tension of any kind. No double entendres. No innuendo.
Well, no, Frank's kissing somebody else.
That's right. Yes. Frank kissed Gina.
Yeah.
So I'm
Which
sad
obviously
about
that was for like a thing, but still.
that was funny. I like that. That was cute.
Funny.
But yeah, otherwise, no. Like, no romance of any kind. And it's like, you guys, what are we even watching this for?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like, the mystery was good and cute or whatever. But we're in season 2. We're almost at the end of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
And we literally, I know you're working on writing Nancy out of the show, so okay. But
I
like,
think she only has one more episode after this, doesn't she? Yeah.
I think so. She's only in 3, 4?
Janet Louise Johnson does 4 total episodes, but one of those is a two-parter.
Yeah.
So
and so it's like, we just need something satisfying to like end it off. Like maybe can we do a breakup? I would be satisfied with like a kind of breakup. Like maybe we shouldn't work together anymore. And then, you know, maybe that's coming because she has another episode or something. But like, or something bittersweet. You know, like I want to do this with you, Nancy, but I just can't stop wanting to protect you. Which would be annoying, but also like satisfying, sort of.
Yeah.
Because maybe he's admitting his feelings a little bit.
I wonder if they do address it at all, or if they just let her go off the show and don't mention it. I bet they don't address it. Yeah. That
would be way too heavy-handed for a 70s TV show. Mm-hmm. I feel like in the 70s, and I don't know, I wasn't alive in the 70s. I'm probably totally talking out of my butt right now. Who knows? But like, I just feel like they were never like direct in any of their like romantic stuff. Like it always had to be kind of like flirting, but never flirting too much. And we always kind of have to hate each other a little bit. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we'll get close, but not too close kind of a thing. And I feel like if they had a man talking about his feelings, particularly Frank Hardy, Parker Lewis Stevenson talking about his feelings on an episode of the Hardy Boys, I feel like they would have been like, oh, let's not do that. That's not fun. Nobody wants to see that. You know?
Yeah.
Just a shame.
Oh, wow.
Because 2025 Becky really wants to see it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
It was a little weird, though, that Gina's supposed to be like 35 and then just randomly selects an 18-year-old boy to go kiss as her cover.
Yeah.
It was a funny scene, but it was still just like, ma'am.
I think Joe's reaction is particularly funny, which is crazy to think about, too, because Joe's also supposed to be younger than Frank. But he's like, why does this always happen to you? Like, how come no one ever kisses me? Like, why do I have to carry all the bags while you get, like, kissed by random girls? Like,
he literally goes, how does he do it?
Well, especially in Sean Cassidy's, like, delivery, it's like, how does he do it? Like he's acting so confused. Like he's really thinking about it, like really hard himself. He's trying to figure it out. It's not a joke. He's not being like sarcastic or like, oh, how does he do it?
Yeah.
It's like, no, how does he do it? Like,
how does he just walk around and have women run up and kiss him like this? What?
I must understand. I must know his secret.
Teach me, Frank. Teach me.
It's really funny.
Gosh, Joe's character is just so funny in this. He's written so well. And something about it makes me think of the CW show and the way Alex Saxon plays the Ace character. I feel like it's definitely inspired by the Sean Cassidy portrayal of Joe. Like I feel like he definitely watched the show to like prepare for the role or something.
That's such a good insight, Kori. No, I can totally see it. Because it's like that kind of like space cadet kind of a vibe. Like just being like, I'm actually very smart and I do know exactly what's going on, but I'm act a little bit like I'm an airhead.
I'm not going to not have fun with it, you know?
Right. And like, what's life if like I can't like make jokes and like
antagonize my brother and
right, but in like such an innocent kind of a way, like never in like a mean way, and like just like a light, like levity. Yeah.
It's so funny. I love it.
It's
He's
so
such
good.
a lovable character. It's great.
Oh God.
He really, Sean Cassidy, you wrote the book on portraying Joe. That's it for me.
I was going to say, a lot of it has got to be Sean Cassidy, because Sean Cassidy, listen, okay, how do I say this? In 2025, he's not that cute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's clearly from the 70s. There's something about men's fashion and hairstyles in the 70s that like make them all look really old and tan and wrinkled. It's very strange.
But I get the appeal, you know.
I can totally see the appeal. And if I had lived in 1978 and I was watching this TV show, I know I would have been a Sean Cassidy girly.
Oh.
I know I would have been obsessed with Sean Cassidy. I think my mom was obsessed with Sean Cassidy. So I'm wondering.
My mom still laments her blue Sean Cassidy jacket that she had in like 6th grade, so that her mom gave away in a garage sale. She never forgave her.
Gosh. That's tragic. Oh yeah. You know, I wonder if it's something in the genes. I wonder if it's genetic, because
maybe.
God.
No, our moms were definitely Sean Cassidy girlies, for sure.
Oh my gosh. So his older brother was the musician guy.
Yeah.
And then Sean Cassidy became a musician also after this show?
Well, during as well. During and after, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Because they did the whole Hardy Boys band thing. He wasn't in that though, was he? Or that was from the animated show?
That was the animated show that was in the 60s. So Sean Cassidy was not. Yeah, I was going to say, I have not seen the animated show, and I haven't seen the Hardy Boys show prior to that, the one in the 50s that was the Disney serial.
Right.
They're a little bit younger in that one. But again, I haven't seen those, so I don't know what the characterization is like. But I feel like all adaptations after that pull off of Sean Cassidy's characterization of Joe, for sure. Like 100%. They all capture that. The games definitely mirror this Joe. The CW show mirrors Ace. It's
Kori,
he wrote the book on it. I'm sorry.
Interested, because I've obviously never read the Hardy Boys books, but I really want to know what the source material is like.
I know,
because I need to know where this characterization of Joe comes from. Frank, I feel like is pretty similar too in all iterations, and that but really usually just as a foil to Joe, in that he is more serious, a little bit more of a brawler, I would say, whereas Joe is a little bit more playing the mental game than Frank is. Not that Frank is not also, intelligent and doing investigating, but it's a little bit more on the brute force side, whereas Joe tends to kind of pick a smoother course. So I'm really interested to see where those come from. But of course, this is not a Hardy Boys podcast. Regular Drews, so I don't know that we ever will.
Oh well.
Oh well.
Darn.
Oh well. Oh darn. I guess we'll just have to see what the future holds. But yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting. I don't feel like this crossover made me feel anything different about Nancy and Frank's relationship, or like the dynamic between Nancy and the Hardy Boys. We didn't even get very many scenes with Nancy with Joe.
No, you're right.
Just the last one, I feel like.
Yeah, it's really just either Frank and Joe or Frank and Nancy, but never Nancy and Joe, or all four of them. Yeah.
Or George and Joe, or like we don't get any like team up moments,
right? Which
is weird, right? Like I feel like that's typically what they try to do with the crossover episodes, is like show them working together as a group. But they don't do that in this, which is really odd.
No, it's more Frank is there to rescue Nancy.
Frank is there to rescue Nancy. That's it. Which is like appreciated, I guess, but like just annoying too that it has to happen.
And again, love Susan Bruckner, but I don't really get why George is here. She wasn't. She didn't really help with a lot. She, made the Frank is cute comment, so we like that fun conversation. But like, other than that, she made a joke about the powder. Not a joke. Frank made the joke. She made a few comments about like the stuff in Gina's bag, and she made some suggestions about like, oh, could it be this? But otherwise, she doesn't really do much other than fall over on her skis.
Yeah, she's just supposed to be there for comic relief. That's it. But also, like, George is such a weird character to pick for comic relief, or like the way that you did the comic relief didn't seem like George, seemed like Beth. Right. So it's like, anyway. But yeah, no, she falls over on her skis. It was just a slapstick moment, which is funny. But then, yeah. And what you're talking about in the compartment, the scene where she was like trying to help them figure out like what could have been valuable in Gina's bag. Yeah, she made a comment about like, it must be her face powder. It must be like angel dust. Yes. Which was funny, but it was really awkward because it didn't like land right. No. Because I don't know if it was just the way Parker Stevenson was acting or something, or Nancy, but like they cut to Frank, and they just both kind of like look at her kind of blankly, and she's like, or not. Like, yeah, it's really awkward.
It was awkward.
It's supposed to be funny, but it wasn't funny. It was weird. I was like, is this supposed to be a funny moment? I'm missing it.
Yeah. I didn't laugh, so.
Yeah. I was like, maybe she's right. I thought she must be right. From the way they were looking at her, I was like, oh, okay, could be drugs. Could be drugs.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess, never mind. I guess it's not. I guess that's a dumb suggestion. She made a suggestion about, or was it Nancy who made the suggestion about the stamp? I think
that was Nancy with the stamp.
Who looked at the stamp. I was like, that's a good idea. Maybe it's the stamp, but it wasn't the stamp. So.
Oh, wow.
That would have been really clever. Yeah. If the $250,000 was hidden in a stamp.
That would be clever, yeah.
That he mailed. But then you would think, why wouldn't he just mail it to himself somewhere else?
Right.
I guess maybe he knew he was dying, maybe because he had pneumonia.
Maybe.
Well, he could have just mailed it. Anyway, whatever.
Do you know that you're dying if you have pneumonia?
I don't know.
You just think you're really sick. This reminds me of Julius McQuaid from Icicle Creek.
That's what I was thinking. God, that was so sad.
It was really sad.
That's so sad. I think to this day, that's the saddest moment in any Nancy Drew PC game is reading the journal entries and then hearing, sorry, this is a spoiler for White Wolf of Icicle Creek, but calling the hospital and hearing that he died.
Yeah. It's bad.
No. And and his whole relationship with Isis and how he didn't want to leave her and he felt so bad for leaving her. I was I can't go back there. Well, anyway,
this was not a dog lover. It was some war crime committer. So,
but it definitely does have White Wolf of Icicle Creek vibes, right? I'm thinking Yanni, communism. He's from Eastern European country. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's snowy, avalanches. I'm just saying, there's definitely a comparison there. There's a strong comparison.
Man, my brain was focused so much on Last Train just because of the train. But like, obviously, that's a way better comparison as Icicle Creek. Huh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't really have anything else to say about this one. I feel like it was a cute little episode. Like I said, had those moments where I threw up in my mouth a lot. And other than that, no, not a lot to think about.
Yeah. Just have two small little things. Mm-hmm. One of the things that George guesses, other than the powder, she guesses it could be a microdot.
Oh, and yeah.
I appreciated that just because we deal with microdots and other mysteries. But again, they look at her like she's crazy and they're like, what? And she's like, okay, fine, maybe not a microdot then.
Well, it's like, guys, also, have you not just heard of like brainstorming? No bad ideas.
Right.
Like,
just throw it out there.
Just throw it out there.
Did you check? Know. Do you know it's not a microdot?
You sure don't.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So that was nice. And then just my only other complaint, I did notice again, I think they've done this before in this season, but Nancy is credited as just a guest star. And when they announce the episode, it's the Hardy Boys starring in Mystery on the Avalanche Express. And then the credits later just say guest starring Nancy Drew. Yeah.
That's right. I was watching that. I wanted to see what they would do. And they didn't even put her in the top credits.
Right.
It's not until after the end that she shows up, which is crazy, because it's like, I understand when people do that if like you're wanting a cameo of a character to be a surprise, if you don't want people to know that character is going to be in the episode, but
presumably this was advertised as a Nancy Drew Hardy Boys episode.
Yes. And like you just did the you know, the episodes before this were the 2-parter episodes. And so it's like, well, at this point, we're not like, it's not secret. It's also, this is not like a big deal episode. It's not an episode where like Nancy's involvement matters in any kind of way, really. You know? So
Right.
it's like, yeah, it's dumb. It's dumb and it's annoying. And it's like, why can we not? Why is Nancy Drew not a main character? Why can she not be a main character in this?
So yeah, just more insight into Pamela Sue's decision to depart the show, which I totally get. So
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
But yeah, that's all I got for this one.
Okay. Yeah, me too. Flashlight score?
Oh gosh.
It surprises me every time. I don't know how.
Ooh. Oh no. Oh no. The creepy men bring it down.
They really do.
I did really like Janet Louise Johnson. I thought she did great.
Yeah.
3.5.
That's generous. I think I would give it just a solid 3.
Yeah.
I think the mystery itself was really good. And interesting.
Yeah.
Props to whoever came up with that. I do think, like I said, Sean Cassidy's always great. His acting really improved. He had really great funny moments. Really grossed out by the creepy men. Really annoyed by the portrayal of Nancy. Just like wanted a lot more out of that and her interactions with the Hardy Boys. Wanted more team up stuff. But overall, I can't say that it was bad. It wasn't bad. So 3, you know?
It does give us an interesting, it's interesting to think about what this could have been if it had been a 2-parter. Because all of our other crossover episodes, except for the one that's going to be the final crossover episode after this one, they've all been 2-parters.
Yeah.
So just having that extra time to devote to giving Nancy her own side of the story and then having, you know, extra scenes with Joe or whatever it might be, maybe that would have helped.
Yeah.
But I don't know, just interesting that it's so short.
Yeah,
and they
it
still
definitely
managed to
clues you in probably as to what they were thinking about writing her off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really want to know why. I want to know more about that. I wonder if there's anything else we can find about that because I want to know what the execs were thinking. I want to know, was it just a money thing? Were her episodes not doing as well? What was that about? You know?
I didn't feel like she was a guest star, though. Like, when you're watching this, you don't feel like, oh, the story's about the Hardy Boys, and she's just kind of also here. Like, she's fully a main character, for sure, even if they don't bill her that way. Yeah.
Well, and like the mystery itself would not have happened if the woman didn't give Nancy the change.
Exactly,
So it's really the Hardy Boys are helping Nancy with the mystery.
Right.
The only thing the Hardy Boys are really doing is helping Hans defect.
Right.
That's it. That's their only big plot point. But that's not a mystery. That's an action thing, maybe, but not a mystery. Nancy's the one with the mystery. She's like, why did this woman switch these bags? What's valuable about this bag? She pulls Frank into it. Well, I guess Frank kind of pulls himself into it by rescuing her, but like, what was he going to do? Not, you know? So, yeah.
It's a shame they didn't have Gina at the end to tell her, like, hey, we figured out your coin situation. Or like, here's your coin back. Maybe Gina gets to keep the coin.
I hope Gina gets to keep the coin.
Yeah.
Because her brother died.
Yeah.
Like, that's sad. I guess her brother was a war criminal. So
true.
Maybe
that's not her fault, though.
No, it's not. But maybe she could do something good with that money. You know?
Surely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway.
I hope Gina had a happy ending. Whatever happened to her, because we don't actually know. She leaves too early, but
presumably she got home safe. You know, the police helped her get home safe, which is probably all she wanted.
Yeah, true. Gosh. Oh man.
Well, next up, Kori, we have another crossover moment happening. This time we are actually following up on something pretty soon after we kind of covered the first part of it. I won't be too vague anymore. I'll just let you know it's another super mystery, the Paris connection.
Yes, this one, of course, kind of follows up on the events from A Crime for Christmas, which was our Christmas book for 2024. So there's a plot line in there that's going to be followed up on here, but I think there is also additional new things as well that we'll get to read about. So
I'm so excited.
Very exciting.
I'm so pumped. Obviously, I think takes place in Paris, which is a great place to set a mystery. And yeah, so really excited to hear more about Fiona Fox.
Yes, yeah. I think obviously we haven't read this one yet. I think you probably will be able to like read this one even if you haven't read the book before that. But if you did want to catch up on that, that was our episode number 100, A Crime for Christmas.
Well, and so the books aren't in succession, right? So the Paris Connection doesn't come directly after A Crime for Christmas, but the events of the Paris Connection are a direct sequel to the events of A Crime for Christmas.
Yes,
so,
there we go.
Just to clarify that. But yeah, we will see you next time, Regular Drews, when we cover that.
Yep, we'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to Regular Nancy Drew. Email us at regularnancydrew@gmail.com.
If you like this episode, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
You can also follow us on Instagram at Regular Nancy Drew and Twitter at RegularND.
You can also support us on Patreon. Patrons at the $3 level vote on upcoming episode topics and get exclusive access to our Scoop Sesh series.
And all patrons receive early access to each episode as well as weekly bonus content.
And to all you Regular Drews out there,
thanks for listening.